So about a month ago I repotted my Anthurium pallidiflorum, and look at it now. It grew this ridiculously long, beautiful leaf. I mean, it was always gorgeous, but now it's insane, and it's already working on the next one. And this has inspired and motivated me to look at the other Anthuriums around here that need repotting, and slowly but surely start to get them all, you know, up to speed. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to repot a couple of other Anthuriums in my care in the hopes that they can start to look as incredible as this guy. Let's get started. So the first Anthurium I want to work with today is this guy. This is an Anthurium Bessii af crossed with crystallinum. Now, I'd show you a crystallinum that I have in my care, but if you watch this frequently, you know, when it comes to crystallinum, I don't know, we just don't get along. I just have this weird mental block. I've owned, I think, 4, and all 4 are no more, so I don't have a crystallinum to show. Well, I do have a crystallinum to show you. It's a tiny baby. It's still, I got it on the Green Escape a few months ago. So it's still here, it's still alive, and it's doing its thing. It's doing okay, actually, but I don't want to jinx it by showing it to you. So let's just say if it makes it through the summer, if it's still thriving by fall, then I'll know I've arrived when it comes to crystallinum, and I'll show it to you then. How about that? This is Bessii af crossed with crystallinum. I got this as a seedling, but, or well, not a seedling, but like a very small, very small plant, back when hybrids were not very commonplace, actually. People who had them were crossing their own, but I bought this one, and it is a very vigorous, easy care plant, but it grows so, it puts out crazy roots, and I've had it in this pot now for ages. Look at the root ball. By the way, I just watered it again just before this video, and before that I watered it yesterday. So it's at the point where it needs daily watering, and it still dries out incredibly quickly. That's why this root is so, sorry, not root. That's why this leaf is so destroyed, because it just drinks water like mad. It's working on an inflorescence for some annoying reason. It's already putting out another leaf. It's just quite a vigorous plant, and I think a vigorous plant deserves a vigorous pot, don't you? Also, all this bit that's exposed could do with covering so that the plant can throw out some more roots to support these big leaves, because when I look at the jump from this leaf to this one, I know it's about to be crazy. Also, these baby leaves are now starting to yellow quite quickly, and typically that happens when the plant it's not getting what it needs from the pod, so it just it's sacrificing these ones. Obviously I don't mind, they're the oldest leaves and leaves are going to die, but I knew that if I don't repot it soon, it will start getting rid of some of these others too. It's already starting on this one. So I'm going to put it into a bigger pot. Now I could go 1 pot size up from this, but knowing what I know about this plant, I mean, look at the roots, right? I think there's just no point. I'm going to go straight to this, which is significantly bigger, but I think is fitting for the size of plant that's going into it, and also it's deeper, so I can cover more of the stem without needing to get into extenders just yet. Because the pot is so big, I definitely want to take extra care to make sure that my soil mix has enough aeration but also still holds a lot of moisture. So I'm going to use tree fern like I always do, but for a pot this size I'm not going to fill it completely with tree fern, because I think it'll just be packed too densely for the plant, and yeah, I just don't think that would be the best. So I'm going to make tree fern aroid mix, and I'll do that by mixing 2 parts tree fern fiber, 1 part Molly's orchid mix, 1 part Molly's aroid mix. So I'm going to start by mixing up my soil. I'm going to be using my Corozet as well, I'll use Great White today. Even though the mix already has some mycorrhizae in it, I like to add extra. I like to add my own. I'm going to be adding mycorrhizae to the water when I water them every couple of weeks. I actually used to be quite diligent about this and have really slacked, and I've noticed the negative effect because I have about 3 plants battling root rot now, which is something that basically never happens to me. I think mycorrhizae really helps against that. I'm also going to be traveling a lot this summer, so using this will make sure that the plants are their strongest, they can withstand the neglect a bit better. So I'll just cover the bottom with some soil, not too much because I don't want the plant to sit too high in the pot, just because again I want to make sure the stem is covered. I'm going to add some mica. It's really important for the roots to touch the mica, just to be clear. You can also just add it to water. That's probably more efficient, but I'm doing it this way. Anyway, now let's take her out. I do it over this to minimize mess. Because this is so firmly rooted in here, it might take me a minute to squeeze it out. And to get it out without damaging anything is going to be not the easiest. Like, I watered it beforehand just to make this process easier, but it's still bloody hell stuck in there, isn't it? Alright, I'm gonna go water this again and see if it will help loosen the root ball. I'm just watering to moisten the soil below before I put the plant into it, because I feel like this makes it easier for the roots to just soak into their new home. I've loosened the root ball some more. Proper stuck in there because, oh my god, absolutely ridiculous. Look at this, the roots literally have nowhere to go. Now, I usually do not mess with the roots, so I'm not sure whether to just leave them be or loosen them some more. To be honest, they don't seem particularly distressed, so I think I'm just going to leave them as they are and not loosen them because I just don't want to annoy the plant. This is the perfect size of pot actually. Any smaller would have been really silly, so because look at all these roots. Before you know it, it'll be needing another pot. So now I'm going to backfill the pot with potting media, and I'm going to fill it, try and cover as much of the stem as I can. When you're enough potting mix, I will have to mix up some more. So I'm just going to dump what's in here and then mix another batch. Depending on how much we use, my ambitions to pot 3 plants might not be possible. Okay, now I have some more mix, so I'm just going to top it up. Get as much as I can in there. I really probably should wear a mask doing this, it's kind of dusty. Never mind. So I shake it, get the mix everywhere. Don't want to pack it too much because you do want the roots to have room to move freely, you know, like just want them to be able to do their thing. But I'm just going to add some at the top here where this stem is, just so those roots have something to grab onto. It's uneven, I know, but that's my way of kind of making sure that to keep moisture around where those aerial roots will be coming in. And now I'm going to water it. Typically after a repot it takes quite a deep watering to get all the media moist. So after I water it, it will probably have to sit for a bit just to soak up some of the moisture. My watering can is just not the most practical size. It's not the most practical, but isn't it so pretty? that wasn't so bad. And now, the next plant I'm going to be working on is this delightfully weird Anthurium. It's an Anthurium clarinervium crossed with Forgetii, which results in these leaves that are technically, they're shaped like a Forgetii, but they're very thick cardboard type, like a clarinervium. So they take the thickness and the cardboardy, you know, velvety cardboard nature of the clarinervium, but they have the closed sinus of the Forgetii. It's a very, very funky looking weird plant. It's one of my favorites in the house because you never really know what the next leaf is going to look like. This is its first ever inflorescence, and it's putting out another one, annoyingly. That's why this leaf is so small. But it needs, the stem has grown almost overnight. The stem has grown out of the pot, so it definitely needs that support. Instead of repotting it, which, I mean, it's got lots of roots in here, but I think it doesn't, you know, not enough that it needs to come out. Instead of repotting this, I'm just going to extend the pot. So I'm going to use a pot extender to cover this portion of the stem and hopefully allow the roots to have a bit more moisture and some more room to grow. So that's what I'm going to do today. Really, I should have done this ages ago, because if you do it soon enough, all these would have been aerial roots, and I think the plant would be a lot happier. Like this aerial root here could have something to grow into. I'm gonna just get started and see how it goes. So once again, I'm gonna use the same mix of tree fern fiber and aroid mix and orchid mix, and I'm going to be using these pot extenders from the Russo plant store. I have a couple of these actually, so I'm gonna use them to extend the pot. Okay, I can't really remember how do you use these again? Now with an Anthurium with so many random leaves, the tricky part is going to be figuring out where the leaves, how to kind of wrap it and support the various leaves, which ones to put where. But that's why it has these little holes so that the petioles have somewhere to go. Let's go like this. Keep this one down and keep these ones up, I think is ideal. Okay, so I'm gonna fasten it. That can go in there. There's a hole for you. You need to peel the plastic off of it. There we go. Now I'm gonna wrap it around like this. It's a little bit fiddly to get it through, to click and click. And then you just kind of position it how you want to. So I'm gonna spin it a little bit to figure out where I can find a hole for this guy. Okay. Oh, there's another one here. I didn't even clock that. Okay. Maybe I can move it under here. It's a little too big for the pot. I feel like soil is going to be pouring out of the sides if I do this. Okay, now that I'm looking at this, I feel like this is maybe not the best candidate for extension, just because of how how small the pot is relative to the size of the extender. I think I'm better off increasing the pot size, which is annoying, but it's realistic. I could go one size up, or I could chuck it into a massive pot. Okay, I could go with this pot, which is bigger, but does nothing to solve the height problem, because it is the same height. Or I could put it in this, which is a lot bigger, quite a bit of a jump, but I am one of those people who believes that getting Anthuriums into big pots sooner rather than later is better. You know what? I'm gonna go big or go home. I'm gonna put it in the big boy, which wasn't the plan, but I think you just need to be ready to pivot sometimes. Again, not too much because obviously I do not want it to sit too high in this pot. The issue is not the growth downwards, the issue is the growth upwards. Now I'm just pulling this one out of this pot. Honestly, these roots are really healthy, but I don't know if it was time necessarily for a repot, a full repot. That being said, the good thing about putting it into this pot is that the extender is the right size for me to stack it. So after I pot it up in this, if I feel like I still want to cover more, I'll probably just use the pot extender anyway, just to kind of get it to a level that I feel was worth all this hassle, you know? I just want to set it up to grow like really, really well. Make the most of the growing season. So, okay, now we're gonna backfill. I doubt I have enough mix, so I'm probably going to have to mix again. That's okay. Just dump it, really. Okay, I'm just gonna go make some more potting mix up the mollies and the tree fern. Alright, I've got some more. I mixed a slightly different ratio. I'm running low on tree fern and I'm just trying to stretch it a little bit until my delivery comes in. So I just figured this guy there's already a lot of tree fern in this pot. The original potting mix was basically like something like 80% tree fern fiber, so this one probably can do with a little bit less and still be fine. So I'm just kind of trying to, and as I fill it, I just try to knock it. I don't want to pack it too much, you know. I want the roots to be able to breathe, obviously. I don't want to suffocate them, but at the same time I don't want to leave like huge gaps. Like over here there's a big gap. Try and knock it a bit and make sure that potting mix gets sort of everywhere, if you would. I think that's decent. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some more. Keep filling it until I get to basically almost the top. It all over. Even distribution. This is an enormous pot, by the way, absolutely massive. But I know how vigorously this plant grows, so I know it'll be fine. It's also directly under a Soltech Solutions Vita grow light, so it has great light. Oh, I forgot to add. I was going to add my Corazze, which obviously will guard against root rot. I forgot to add it when I was potting, so maybe I'll just add it to I'll add it to the water. Now usually I would leave more space at the top here, but because I know I'm adding the pot extender, I don't need to do that. In fact, I definitely don't want to do that. I want to fill it as high as I can, so that when I extend the pot, I'm getting the most out of that extension, you know. I don't want to be extending into nothing. So, yep. Okay, looking good. Okay, so now that I've done the main body of the plant, now I'm going to add an extension on top. Now this might seem like overkill, but I want to make sure that this aerial root right here has something to grow into. I want to give it the best chance. And as you can see, extender works a lot better on a bigger pot. Fasten it, and then you just sort of shimmy these stems into the spots where you want them to go before you pin the extender down. Pin it down here. I think this is good. Pin it like this and it's secure. So now I'm going to add soil to this bit here just to cover everything up to here, and so that it really grows as many roots as it can, aerial roots. And hopefully this will allow for a good, this will allow the leaves to size up, I hope. I mean, they're a good size already. Since the stem is growing so long, I just want it to be as happy as possible. Just going to be careful here because it's working on a new leaf. I don't want to disturb that. I don't want to disturb the caterpillar. Okay. Now I'm just going to add some great white mycorrhizae to my water, and I'm going to water it, and that's it. Bob's your uncle. Okay, so I'm top watering this with water that I've added the great white mycorrhizae to, just to encourage it to root, as you know, just to encourage it to settle into its new home, and also to kind of inoculate it against root rot. It goes a long way. It really helps. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then I'm top watering it, but I will also set it aside to sit, sort of bottom water, so it soaks in as much of the moisture as it can, and then I will leave it to one side and do the next repot. So once again, I need to mix some more soil, and then I'll pull out the last two plants that I want to pot up today. Okay, so the next candidate I'm going to work with is this Anthurium crystallinum. Now, a running theme in my Anthurium collecting life is that I simply cannot keep Anthurium crystallinum alive. I've had this one for 3 months now, so it's going well. So far it's going well. I bought it, I didn't import this one, so maybe that's the trick for me. I bought it from the Green Escape as a tiny baby, and it's put out 2 leaves since I got it, this one and this one. I had it in my grow tent at first just to allow it to adjust, because I received it in the middle of winter, and I just thought, given my track record with crystallinum, it's better to be safe than sorry. But it's getting full in there, and I know this is not a plant that needs tent to grow, so I've pulled it out, and it seems to be doing well. It's under the grow light. I'm not sure what the lighting situation with these guys is, how little or how much, but I'm just winging it. I put the potting mix halfway when I got it so as not to overwhelm the root system, and the roots are growing in nicely, but this whole pot, this bit is empty, and it's starting to try to put out a little bit of those baby aerials here. So I'm going to catch this one just in time. I'm going to add a thin layer of potting mix to bring it up to about here, just to encourage those to root into that, give it something extra to root into. Let's see if we can get any fat, fuzzy roots out of this guy. I will also add mycorrhizae when I water it, just to encourage everything to kind of boost and grow really nicely. So I'm going to do that now. Now at the moment, this thing is potted entirely in tree fern fiber, so I'm not too worried about my mix not having as much tree fern as I would usually like, because the plant has a ton of tree fern. So I'm just going to put a little bit, just not too much. I'm probably being overly cautious. I mean, it's just a crystallinum, but it's going well, and I don't want to do anything I don't want to jinx that. So yeah, I've just added a little bit of potting mix. It's still not full, and when it grows more roots, I'll add a bit more, and then when the pot is fully rooted and crazy with roots, then I'll up pot it. I'll transplant it into another pot. There's the water. It's got some mycorrhizae, great white mycorrhizae. This is the first time I'm using great white, actually. I've used other other mycorrhizae in the past, but never great white. So I'll be interested to see how well it works. I'm just watering it thoroughly, and then like the others, I'm going to set it aside to, you know, to bottom water, to take in more of that water. Okay, the next plant is this Anthurium papillilaninum. This is a plant that I imported, honestly, not that long ago, like a month and change, I think, maybe 2 months, I don't know, but it has bounced back like crazy. It grows, look at these roots, an absolute monster. So I'm definitely going to be giving it a bigger pot. I think obviously it just needs a lot more room to grow. I'm not really sure what happened to this leaf here or why it's doing that. And I'm wondering if it's looking slightly chlorotic. I wonder if it has too much light where I have it in the tent. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I think one step at a time. So I'm going to repot this one. I'm going to put it into, so I have 2 sizes to choose from. I could do this one and I could do this one. Now, old me would have done this one. I would have put in this one because obviously it's in a very small pot right now. But actually, I'm thinking I might prefer to put it in this one and maybe not fill the thing all the way and just give it more, because the root system is extremely vigorous and I don't want to keep repotting it and setting the leaf size back. So I just think maybe I will just, I think I'll just put it into, this right away from the get-go, and we'll see how it does. If it's too much, I can always take it out, but I suspect it will be just fine. I'm gonna be careful because this pot is slightly cracked. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, I'm just gonna put some potting media in the bottom. You know the drill by now. Line the bottom of the pot with potting mix. I have a little bit more leeway with this one to kind of put a little bit more than I have been doing, just because, you know, there's plenty of room. So that's in. I'm going to lightly water it to make sure that the mycorrhizae comes into contact with the root ball. I mean, it will anyway, but I like to water my potting mix before I put plants into it. I just think it's easier to saturate the whole plant that way. Now, getting this out of here could prove challenging because look, it's already doing the most. It hasn't even been in here that long. So, yep. It is currently potted exclusively in tree fern. This is what I do to any Anthurium seedling. I just pot them in nothing but tree fern fiber, and obviously it has enjoyed that arrangement because look how beautiful these roots are. I mean, this is not the prettiest root ball. So yeah, it obviously loves the tree fern. I'm gonna sit this in here. It's actually not too bad. It doesn't even look as ridiculous as I thought it would. So now I'm going to backfill and just get the substrate in and around it. I won't go too high. I'll probably come right here. There's an arrow root trying to do something over here, so I'll give it something to work with and then water it. Be very careful not to get any onto the rug. Once this is done, I'm going to put it back into the grow tent to recover from sort of the interruption to its regularly scheduled. I don't like to change too many things at once. So if I'm like repotting a plant, I'll make sure I return it to exactly where it was before the repot, so that if something goes wrong, I can identify what the issue is, as opposed to having, you know, too many variables to think about. I need to be able to know, like, was it the repot? Is it the change in location that the plant is reacting to? Like, what's the problem, you know? I think this is enough. I think some of the roots are still exposed, but I think this might be the best I can do, realistically. Okay, without overwhelming the leaves. So now I'm gonna water it deeply. So this one's done. This one is also done. I'm going to let it soak in the water before I return it to the grow tent. Look at this leaf. And last but not least, I've got my thirsty big boy. This is Ace of Spades X Pappy, and this plant is very, very sort of fast growing, vigorous. It's sized up like mad from when I got it. The leaves are really big, so I know that it needs some support or it might break. So I'm going to give this one again the pot extender, because obviously it doesn't need a repot. There's plenty of space, and this is one that maybe might take a few extenders before I repot it, because I just think it's not like this is full. I don't want it to get root rot, so I'm doing that now. My trusty extender. Let me battle with the film yet again. Try and peel it off. Oh, I'm so bad at this. This one's actually, yeah, I found it. Yay! That's the quickest one yet. What's nice and straightforward about this one is that it does not have, the petioles are all growing straight up, so there's no issue of trying to fit them, you know, fit this around them. You can just kind of slot it in. And then I'm just shimmying this on. Oh, I'm an expert at this now. Honestly, what I'll say for this is that it's a lot easier and more straightforward for some plants than others. If there are no stems to kind of grapple with, then there's no problem. So I'm just going to anchor it into the soil. My one thing is I do wish that they came with more anchors in a pack, because I do think that like 2 anchors would be the perfect number per plant, wouldn't they? Although maybe I used too many. I think I used too many anchors the first time I did this. So maybe it did come with the perfect number, but because I've used them in my other plant, I don't have. I think it just wasn't clear to me how many to use per plant. I think I might have used 3. So yeah, I think ideally in a pack of 5 pot extenders you would get 10 of those metal anchor thingies. Okay, now I'm going to water this. And this is it, the last of them. Successfully done, potted up and ready to grow. And hopefully by the next time I show you an update or I do a houseplant tour and show you how everybody's doing, you'll be able to see just how much giving them this extra boost around the roots has helped. Till next time, I'll see you